The gate groaned open with a rusted reluctance, metal shrieking through the quiet fog as Nathan pushed it with both hands. He winced at the sound. It echoed too far in the stillness of midnight, as though the cemetery itself were protesting his arrival. The keys jingled in his coat pocket as he stepped through. He'd taken the job because it paid well, ridiculously well for a gig that, on paper, involved walking in circles around headstones and making sure nobody spray-painted crosses or sacrificed goats. No one had done either in over a decade, according to Mr. Arledge, the groundskeeper. Just keep the place locked, make a lap every hour, and don't answer the knocking, the old man had said, without elaborating. Nathan had laughed then, assuming it was some kind of hazing joke, but Arledge hadn't smiled. Now, as his boots crunched over dew-slick gravel, that warning came back in full. Don't answer the knocking. He reached the small brick guardhouse near the center of the cemetery, a squat little building with a single yellow bulb hanging above the door, casting a cone of weak light into the creeping mist. Inside, it smelled like old paper and boiled coffee. A battered radio murmured low static on the counter, and a handwritten logbook sat open beneath it. He signed his name. 12:01 a.m. First shift. Nathan slumped into the chair, shrugging off his coat. The silence pressed against the windows. The heater kicked on with a rattle. He scanned the security monitors, 5 black and white feeds showing grainy shots of the grounds, each one too dark to be useful. Only one thing moved. Fog. Thick, lazy, creeping like smoke across the earth. He didn't remember falling asleep. Knock, knock, knock. Nathan's eyes snapped open. He jerked upright, the chair creaking beneath him. His heart thudded once, loud and misplaced in his chest. The radio was off. Had he turned it off? He blinked at the darkness. Outside, the fog had thickened into a wall. The yellow bulb flickered like a candle. He checked his watch. 1 a.m. Knock, knock, knock. This time, he heard it clearly. Not on the door, from the back wall. He stood slowly, legs stiff. The heater had gone silent. The room felt cold, far colder than it should have been. He took a step toward the back of the guardhouse. Another knock, sharper now, like knuckles against hollow wood. Nathan swallowed. "Hello?" he called out, voice rough with sleep. No answer. But something moved on the far monitor, camera 4. A shadow shifting near the eastern mausoleums. Not walking, not crawling exactly, just displacing light, a shape where there shouldn't be one. He stared at the screen. The feed crackled. The shape turned. Too fast. The screen went black. Knock, knock, knock. This time it came from the door. Nathan spun, his hand already reaching for the flashlight on the counter. The beam flickered weakly, struggling to cut through the fog outside the window. Silence. Then, softly, "Nate, open up. It's me." His throat tightened. The flashlight slipped in his hand. That voice. It couldn't be. It was Leah. His sister's voice, muffled but unmistakable. He took a step toward the door, breath catching. Her voice hadn't changed. Not in the 4 years since they found her car at the bottom of the ravine. Not in his nightmares. And now, it was outside the door. "I'm scared, Nate. Let me in." His hand reached for the knob. Then, "Please don't leave me here again." The words were soft, familiar, exact. They were the same ones she'd said the night she disappeared. His hand froze. Every instinct in his body screamed. Not with fear, with memory. That voice wasn't Leah's. Not really. It wore her tone, her softness. But it was hollow, like someone had rehearsed it, mimicked it. Something that wanted him to believe. He backed away from the door, chest tight. The voice on the other side changed. The tone shifted, softer still, but now slick with hunger. "It's warm in there, Nathan. I remember warmth." The doorknob twitched. Then the knocking stopped. Nathan didn't breathe until the quiet settled back in. It draped itself over the guardhouse like a burial shroud, oppressive and absolute. He was shaking now, but not from cold. The kind of tremor that starts in the spine and spreads outward like a silent scream. His palm left sweat against the flashlight handle, the same hand that had hovered too close to that doorknob. That wasn't Leah. Even the thinking her name sent a jolt through his gut. He hadn't spoken it aloud in years. Not since the coroner handed him the personal effects from the wreckage. Her cracked phone, a St. Jude pendant, and a single earring, bent out of shape. And now, something out there was using her voice like a marionette's string. He turned back to the monitor. Camera 4, the Eastern Mausoleums, was back online. But the image was different now. A new shadow lingered at the edge of the frame. It wasn't fog. It was a figure, standing perfectly still just within the broken columns of the old mausoleum's archway. The shape was wrong. Shoulders too high, arms too long. Its face, if it had one, was turned directly toward the camera. Nathan leaned closer, his breath fogging the screen. The figure raised its arm, slowly, deliberately. It waved. The radio behind him snapped to life with a sharp crack of static. Nathan spun. A low voice broke through the hiss and crackle, muffled, distorted. "Help. Help me." Then, static. Then, "Don't let it. Wear me." Then, silence. He stared at the radio, the hair on his arms bristling. That voice had been deeper than Leah's. A man, but warped, as though underwater or buried beneath wet soil. He reached toward the device, hand hovering. When he finally touched the dial, it burned hot against his skin. He jerked back with a sharp hiss. On the monitor, the figure had moved closer, now standing just inside the threshold of the building, partially cloaked in shadow. A part of him wanted to go out there and see it with his own eyes, to prove it was a trick of the camera's, a smudge on the lens. But a deeper, older part of him, the part his grandmother used to call the soul's warning bell, was screaming now. "Don't step outside." And then the doorknob turned again. Once, twice, deliberately. He froze. His body refused to move, as if some instinct told him movement would give him away. As if the thing on the other side of the door needed permission, needed him to react. A fingernail scratched down the length of the metal, slow and deliberate. Then, softly, the voice returned. "You buried me in the dark, Nate. Why did you leave me cold?" He didn't speak, didn't blink. I remember the crash, the glass, the weight of water in my lungs. I remember dying, and you were warm, and I was not. He clenched his jaw. "You're not her," he muttered. A pause. Then, "But I remember what she remembers. I feel what she felt. That makes me real enough." The lights flickered. A high-pitched whining filled the guardhouse, metal under pressure, like the bones of the building were straining. Then, a bang at the window. Nathan jumped, heart in his throat. He turned toward the side wall, where condensation fogged the glass, except for one handprint, long-fingered and wrong, pressed against the pane. The heater kicked back on. The pressure lifted. Silence reclaimed the space, as if nothing had happened. Nathan stood there for a long time, trembling in the dark. At 3:12 a.m., the gate opened by itself. The monitors caught it, the creaking of iron against gravel, as the massive entry gates slowly parted inward, though no figure stood near them. No breeze moved, no storm blew in. yet the gates swung open as though welcoming someone in, or something out. Nathan scanned the cameras, breath shallow. His thumb hovered over the emergency contact button on the wall-mounted panel, an old rotary system that connected straight to Arlich's landline. But he hesitated. Would Arlich believe him? Would anyone? Or worse, had Arlich known? His words echoed now. Don't answer the knocking. He hadn't said not to open the door. He hadn't said to run, just that single instruction. Nathan's hands moved on instinct now. He shut off the monitor feed, one by one. He didn't want to see any more. Whatever this was, it fed on attention, on memory, on recognition. He sank into the chair, fists pressed to his temples. Leah is dead. You buried her. You never said goodbye. That last one stung worst of all. The fog was thinning now, as if whatever had arrived was no longer hiding. He heard footsteps outside, software deliberate, crunching gravel beneath bare feet. Then silence. Then a final knock, this one gentle. Then her voice again, softer than ever. You don't have to open the door. Just say goodbye, Nate. Nathan stared at the door. Her voice had gone quiet, replaced by the hush of the graveyard beyond the walls. No footsteps, no scratching, no knocking. Just wind stirring dead leaves into soft spirals outside the window, and the hollow weight of silence pressing on his chest. You don't have to open the door. Just say goodbye, Nate. His throat burned. He lowered himself into the creaking chair, leaning forward until his elbows dug into his knees. His hands trembled slightly as he covered his mouth. Leah's voice wasn't just a ghost. It was precise, not an echo, not a fading memory. It knew what she said, what she felt, and it wanted something from him. Goodbye, he whispered, his voice cracking. No answer came, but the shift in the air was immediate. Something released its grip on the room. The heater whirred back to life. The light bulb above the door stopped flickering, but Nathan didn't move. His heart wouldn't let him, not until he saw the monitor again. He flicked the cameras back on. Nothing. Camera 1, the western fence, empty. Camera 2, the old statue near the chapel, empty. Camera 3, near the mausoleum, still. Camera 4, black screen, dead. Camera 5, the front gate, open, and standing just inside the gates was him, another Nathan. Same coat, same slouched posture, same hair curling damply at the temple. Only this one stared up at the camera with a smile carved too wide across his face. And his eyes were all wrong. No color, no reflection, just dark pits swallowing the screen. Nathan stood abruptly, the chair slamming into the wall. Then the lights flickered off. He grabbed the flashlight and yanked the door open, stumbling into the mist that wrapped itself around him like damp linen. The fog blurred everything, gravestones becoming gray silhouettes, the gate vanishing entirely. But the footsteps were back, coming from behind him, crunching, measured. He spun around, empty. And then another whisper, not Leah this time, but deeper. You looked too long, Nathan. Now, I remember you. The flashlight flickered. He slapped it hard, but the beam blinked out, and in the darkness, something breathed inches from his face. He ran, boots skidding across wet grass and gravel, heart thundering like a trapped animal. He didn't look behind him, didn't need to. The breath followed, hot and damp at his nape, always just behind, never catching him, but close enough to want him to know. He burst into the chapel, the only structure with a lock and stone walls, and slammed the door shut. Inside it smelled like mildew and old prayers. Nathan braced against the wood, chest heaving. On the far wall, just above the altar, was a plaque he'd never noticed before. Carved into it, say your name, say goodbye, or give it your place. He stared at the words, and in his head, Leah's voice returned. Not the hollow imitation, but the real one. A memory. I don't want to be forgotten, Nate. I want to be real forever. He knew what he had to do. He stepped back outside. The fog parted for him this time, curling away in slow retreat, like smoke repelled by fire. There it stood, the figure in his likeness, skin too smooth, smile too still, arms hanging at its sides like stringless marionettes. Nathan stepped closer, and the air grew thick with memory. Leah's laughter, her scream, her last call. Take me, he said, voice barely louder than breath. Let her go. The figure tilted its head. Then, slowly, it stepped back. Nathan reached into his coat and pulled out Leah's earring, the one he'd kept all these years. He held it out. The figure extended a pale, twisted hand. As soon as it touched the metal, its skin cracked, splintering like glass under pressure. From those fractures, darkness bled outward in tendrils. Its smile fell away. Its face warped, features melting into unreadable geometry. Then, it screamed. Not a voice, not even a sound. It was every scream at once. Leah's, his, others, hundreds. And the cemetery shook. When the fog cleared at dawn, Arledge found Nathan sitting on the chapel steps, ash on his face, the broken earring clenched in his palm. You lasted longer than most, the old man said softly. Nathan didn't look at him. Was that thing her? No, Arledge said, but it wears grief like a mask. Nathan nodded slowly, eyes fixed on the gate where the figure had stood. He didn't ask what it was. He didn't need to. And when he finally stood, the sun cutting pale gold across the stones, he left the keys on the chapel steps. He never looked back.